fortunately, dogs usually have sufficient rear angulation to take care of whatever is up front. This was a real dog. This dog hunted ducks all week long, and when his owner gave him to me on Friday, she cleaned him up, and we went to the shows and cleaned up. We took all the trophies. I made him #1 Chessie in the U.S. and top sporting dog in Canada, A. You got that? Made him top sporting dog in Canada, A. And the dog, you know, just doesn't have the rear angulation that you would want in a herding dog. Here's a dog with slightly more rear angulation, a galloping breed. So you don't need a lot of rear angulation for long distance time of trotting, but you do need strength for galloping. Here's an example of a Whippet and a German Shepherd, two excellent examples of their breed. I gave the Shepherd Best in Show and the Whippet Reserve Best in Show in the Trinidad show that I did. And you'll see the difference in angulation from the hip joint to the knee to the hock, from the hip joint to the knee to the hock. The Shepherd has more angulation than the Whippet does. Whippet's a little more vertical in those angles, and yet they're both ideal for the breed, for what their function is, their historic function. Here is rear angulation again. I want to show you that the angulation from the pelvis to the femur could be something like 120 degrees. From the stifle, that's the knee, to the hock, is not very sharp. In American dogs, you'll find from the stifle to the hock vertical, I mean horizontal. So you'll find dogs that have their hock so far behind them that the stifle to hock area, the tibia and fibula, are almost vertical. Sometimes they're so bad that the knee is actually lower than the hock, and that is really bad. That is not efficient. Can you imagine a long fishing pole and you're going up to somebody's door and you're going to ring the doorbell? For one thing, it's pretty hard to hit that doorbell, and another thing, it's pretty hard to keep the tip of the fishing pole on the doorbell. It's going to slip off. The further away you get from the point of action, the less control you have over it. And the same thing with dogs' muscles and ligaments. The further away you're going to get these metatarsi and feet from the muscles that they're attached to and they're supposed to be moving, the less control you're going to have, and therefore you get very wobbly hocks in a dog that has too much rear angulation. Here's a breed that doesn't need a whole lot of rear angulation, but the fad has been to reward it. And in some cases, it doesn't hurt the dog much at all. This, by the way, was not too far away. This was in New York State. I did this show several years back. It's a beautiful Afghan, moved very well. If you look at the hip to knee, where it's someplace in there, to hock angulation, the best way you can tell, if you're not used to looking at dogs with a lot of hair, is to see the dog moving. And when you see the dog moving, you can pretty much tell where the joints are. When you looked and felt thousands of dogs also, you get a pretty good idea where it is. But moving is what is going to tell you. The Afghan hound generally has more rear angulation than it needs. It's a galloping dog. It should look pretty much like a bony German Shepherd with hair. I mean a greyhound with hair. Unfortunately, some German Shepherds look like that too. Here's another breed, a Kerry Blue, that fashion dictates a little bit more angulation than it needs, because a terrier is rather straight in the front, and its job is for digging. The word comes from the word that means earth, terra. So a terrier is something that should have very stiff, strong muscles and ligaments in the front so they can dig into the dirt after vermin. Here's the hip, here's the knee, here's the hock. So there's a lot of angulation in a lot of Kerry Blues. This is my choice for Best in Show in Ireland, and this was my reserve Best in Show. It happened to be another terrier Schnauzer breed, the miniature Schnauzer. You see a little less angulation in this variety of terrier. Here again, rear angulation. There's very little in this particular Airedale, less than is desirable, as a matter of fact. This Airedale has the angulation of a Shar-Pei or a Chow. So it's not very attractive in an Airedale. You saw that picture of the Airedale before. It was almost perfect. So this doesn't look quite like that. Here is a picture of a dog with a lot of rear angulation. He's got almost all four on the ground. But if you look from the hip to the knee, and then you get a horizontal line, that's a long stifle from here to here. You'll notice that the 3 feet on the dog here in front, the dog's finished with his stride. But is he finished in the rear? No. He still has this 90-degree angle here. It looks like a sickle, and that's why they call this sickle hocks. The dog has not fully extended in the rear, and what happens is where this foot pad should be back here someplace, he's lost that much distance in which he could be propelling his body forward. He's already finished with his forward motion. He's got his foot being put down on the ground, so he can't go any further forward. He's starting to pivot over that and rotate over that front foot, and yet he has not finished his stride in the rear. Inefficiency is the worst problem in a herding dog and a working dog. A dog should be efficient because it should be able to work 20 hours a day running after sheep and not break down. And this dog would not be able to do that. He's not efficient. This is called locked hocks or sickle hocks. That's a term. And of course, everybody's seen pictures like this showing a normal dog in the rear versus a dog that's cow-hocked. That's when the hocks are closer together than the pads of the feet. You very seldom see a barrel-legged or bandy-legged dog. Quite often you'll see one that's narrow. Most of the problems are dogs that are cow-hocked. It depends on how they move, how serious that cow-hock condition is. If it's wobbly, then it's more serious. Again, cow-hocked is a stance that's mostly found in over-angulated dogs, but there's a lot of dogs with moderate and correct rear angulation that also stand cow-hocked. And the reason for cow-hocked is that you have two bones in the lower leg, and they don't always grow at the same rate and the proper length. So when you get one of them a little bit longer than the other, it's going to twist something out of position, and the dog's not going to stand or move properly. It's going to stand more like a cow. Here's a way the dog should be moving. Now that we've looked at the dog's angles and we know where the bones are, we're going to move the dog. And one of the first things the judge will do in a ring, and what you will do when you're choosing a dog to buy or picking a puppy or choosing a stud dog, you're going to say, please move the dog for me. Take him out and back. Let me see how he moves. What he should be doing when he's got his foot on the ground is a straight line from the hip to the knee to the hock to the pad. So this straight line, you should take a snapshot of that in your mind and place that right there. Now when he puts his other foot down, you'll also get a straight line from hip to knee to hock to pad, and it's going to look just like this. It's going to be a mirror image on this side. So you're going to get a V shape when the dog moves away. The faster he moves, the more sharp will be the V. If he moves very slowly, if he's pacing, it's not going to be much of a V at all. When the dog paces, he's going to rock from side to side because he's walking with parallel legs. So you want the dog to trot so he gets into more of a V shape. And it's called single tracking because his footprints come down pretty close to a single line, single track. And this is going to happen in all breeds, even the short-legged dwarf breeds. But in the Corgi, for example, the ground is going to be here rather than here. So you're going to get a little bit of a V shape. It's going to be harder to see in a Corgi or a Dachshund, but you're going to have, when the dog trots, it's a tendency towards single tracking. Even in terriers, which standards will say they're supposed to move parallel, well, actually, the laws of physics say no, The dog's going to move with a tendency to single track. You can't defy gravity. You can't defy physics. It's a law of nature. And no matter how many standards are written saying that it's parallel movement, you're not going to have parallel movement. What happens is that the dog's center of gravity or center of mass is such that he's going to have to support that. And when he's moving that center of mass forward, then he doesn't have to support it from left to right as frequently. He can support it with footsteps closer to the middle. And that's how he does it. He supports his center of mass, which is moving, by putting the feet closer together as he's trotting or galloping even. In the German Shepherds, it got to the point where rear angulation was becoming very, very fashionable. This was 1981, and we already had 10 to 15 years of a selection for a sloping top line and a lot of rear angulation. The front is quite vertical, and that helps give you the impression of very high withers. High withers is fine because it should be higher than the back, but this is a little too much, a little ridiculous. Here's a dog that has what we call parallel tracking, and the parallel part is from the hock to the pad. You'll find generally more or less of a V shape from hip to hock, but then from the hocks down, it will be moving parallel. So you'll have like two straight vertical lines moving away. Usually this happens in dogs that are a little over-angulated. So if the dog's got too much rear angulation, it'll quite often move parallel and stand a little bit cow-hocked. So if it's a little bit cow-hocked and moves parallel, it's not much of a big deal. But if it's cow-hocked and moves cow-hocked, it's a little more serious. And if it stands cow-hocked and then moves wobbly, then it's very serious. Here's a dog that is single tracking, moving properly. When it puts the weight on the foot that's down on the ground, then it has a straight line through the leg bones. And as it's bringing the other foot forward, it can turn it a little bit. But when it puts it down, again, you're going to have that other straight line. You get the V. Here's a dog that's over-angulated, has parallel tracking from the hock to the pad. It's about the vertical lines, just like this. So it looks more like a Y. So instead of a V, we have something like a Y. Now here's a dog that is weak in the hocks. It has cow hocks. It moves cow hock. And in Europe, they call it X legs because you have the letter X that it resembles. And so you look for letters, look for V for victory instead of X for X-rated. Here's a dog that's not only over-angulated but very weak in the ligaments, and it's wobbly, and it looks like an egg beater going away from you. And here, the dog has its foot on the ground, and its right foot is being lifted off the ground. In order to get the right foot past the left foot without bumping the hocks together, what it does is it twists the hock outward to swing around that leg. And when that right foot is put down on the ground, it's going to do the same thing with the left. So in order to keep the hocks from bumping, it's going to swing them around. And with the loose ligaments that a dog has that is very long in the rear angulation, it's going to look pretty bad. It's going to look very wobbly. And no wonder people look at German Shepherds today and say, I don't want one of those that looks crippled. and they buy a Shiloh Shepherd or a different breed instead. So it's what is one of the things that's wrong with going to extremes. And when people talk about extreme angulation, some of them are bragging about it, and they really shouldn't be because extreme is not good. Goldwater said extremism in the service of democracy is no vice or something like that. But in dogs, extremism doesn't have any redeeming qualities at all. Paddling is a problem when you have in the front. Here's a dog with two problems. When the dog gets down at the end of the field and it starts coming back to you, you want to see that same V shape. So a dog that comes in with a tendency toward single tracking, usually a dog's a little bit wider in the front than it is in the rear. but it should still have a tendency to single track. If it doesn't, there may be other problems. There may be a problem with the elbows. The dog may be elbowing out. The dog may be turned out at the pasterns. They may be flipping the pasterns outward or else inward. So there's a number of problems that you can see when a dog is coming back toward you. And most of these have something to do with the relative lengths of the radius and ulna, the two bones in this foreleg. Other problems, for example, elbow dysplasia, can cause a dog to be out at the elbows too. So there's a number of different reasons. Here's a dog with very nice smooth contours. This part is left a little more hairy on the Airedale, and they trim this part so the legs look thicker than they really are. But there's a nice smooth contour past the elbow. Very smooth, correct in the front. This dog, you can see that it's out at the elbows. Even with the hair, you can't cover it up. No matter how much trimming, that dog is still going to be out at the elbows. It's a minor amount, but you should be able to see that on that picture. Here's a dog that's correct. And again, you see that nice smooth line over the elbows from shoulder past elbows down to the pastern. And you can see that V shape starting to take form. So a dog that's trotting properly toward you is going to single track or tend toward single tracking, even if it's a terrier breed, which is known for more parallel movement. However, there you have the dog with the out at the elbows condition again. And what happens is he not only stands that way, but he also moves that way. And so he's throwing this elbow out even more. And what happens in the front, he brings his wrist inward toward the center of the line, and quite often that makes the pad look a little bit turned out a little, just a little bit. So you've got this angle, this angle, this angle, and instead of one smooth line, you've got a dog with a couple of faults here. Here again, nice smooth, single tracking dog. There's the out at the elbows. All right, so I want you to fix that in your mind, the difference coming in toward you. Here's another picture of the dog with out at the elbows, a different dog, but still you can see that this dog's angle from shoulder, point of shoulder to elbow to wrist is not straight. It's different angles. Even if you look at the dog a little bit from the side, you can see that there's a little bit of crooked look to the dog. So watch for a dog coming in at you. Look for the elbows and the wrists to see if it has proper movement. As the dog walks away, you can see the front part as well as the rear part. You really don't have to have the dog coming back at you every time. You can quite often see these faults in either direction. Here's the dog moving on its own. The leash was dropped, and the dog continues to move with single tracking action. Beautiful, smooth contour around the elbows, and the dog is trotting slowly, but still tending toward single tracking. This dog, however, is not moving properly. This is the dog that was out at the elbows. You can see from the wrist to the pad in the front. You can even see that from the back that it's not straight. You can see here also the dog was cow-hocked from the knee to the hock to the pad, and again from the knee to the hock to the pad. So this dog is swinging his rear end around a little bit cow-hocked, not moving quite as smoothly. Again, normal foot placement out at the elbows often is accompanied by east-west feet turned out. Here's a dog that's standing normally. There's one that's standing with turned out feet and bad elbows. Here's a dog that's lifting too high in the front. Now this is where people get fooled. They say the dog's reaching out past his nose and must be good movement, but there again, there's too much daylight under that pad at the end of the dog's stride. Another, the main reason for a dog doing that is because it doesn't have enough front angulation to take care of the amount of rear angulation. And if the dog is taking a long time for this greatly angulated rear to go from point A to point B, he's got to take the same amount of time for the front leg to go from point A to point B. However, if there's not enough angulation there, he has to do something in the front to waste a microsecond of time. So what the dog is doing when he's stepping high is wasting that little bit of time to allow the rear leg to finish its stride before he puts that front foot down on the ground. And some dogs, instead of doing that, will break at the pasterns. There again, it takes a fraction of a second longer in time to go like this. So instead of holding the foot out straight, he's got it broken at the pasterns, different angle. Whippets will do this very frequently. A lot of other sighthounds will do that. Breaking at the pasterns is just another technique of a dog to try to balance more rear angulation than he has front angulation for. Here is a handling problem, a training problem, and crossing over in front is not always structural. Quite often it's handling. If a dog is used to running in a circle, such as a small ring out here that we have, the dog's going to be running like this. He's going to be leaning for a left turn, getting ready for a left turn. Well, while he's leaning and moving his feet to the right of his center of his body, his rear feet are on the other side. So he's running kind of crooked. His front may be in one direction and his rear in another direction. If you're training a dog for the show ring, you should be training a dog only in straightaway gaiting. Don't run him in circles like a ring. Wait until you get into the ring to let him run in a circle. Always train your dog as straight as you can and then straight back. Don't make circles. It's bad for the dog's training. It makes it harder for you to bring out the best in the dog once you get him in the ring. He'll know when he runs into the wall that he's supposed to turn left. You don't have to teach him that very often. One or two times, and that's all. Here's a dog that is lifting and breaking at the pasterns. So I'll show you both traits here. This should be from the elbow to the pad, should be a straight line, and he's breaking at the pasterns as well as too high off the ground. Here's a dog that has two problems. One is a minor amount of kick up in the rear. It may be because the croup is too short. For some reason, he's already finished his stride with these two feet and probably this one, but this one's a little bit too high in the rear. What's the other problem that this dog is doing as far as the show ring problem is concerned? Pacing. And does anybody not know what pacing is? Pacing is bringing both legs on the right side together and both legs on the left side together. So in horse racing, in the old days anyway, I don't know if they still do it, they had pacers and trotters. Some dogs would trot, some dogs would horses would have to pace all the way through. And if they didn't, then they were disqualified or didn't win or something. So this dog's right legs, front and rear, are coming together forward at the same time, and the left are going back at the same time. What happens when a dog paces in a ring? Well, as I said, if it's got its body weight on the right legs, we're bipedal, so with two feet we can't see it. But if we walked like that, like a bear, we'd put all our weight on one side and then all our weight on the other side. We'd rock back and forth from side to side, and that's what happens when a dog paces. He goes from side to side. He puts his weight on his two right feet, and then he puts his weight on his two left feet. But when he's trotting, he's putting his weight on one left and one right, and therefore his weight is in the middle. See, that's why he doesn't rock back and forth, because the center of gravity, or center of mass, is in the middle all the time. Pacing is due mostly to fatigue and training, but there are some dogs that have some unspecified number of structural faults. One cause or another may cause some pacing. There are some dogs that just will not trot in the ring, and you have to penalize them because you're supposed to be able to see a dog trotting at one point or another. Here's a dog that's just starting to move a little bit faster, and it's going from a walk to a pace. It's in the middle of a transition gait right there. Here's a dog that's in full trot, and that's the one that I showed you before. I said the dog's got all four on the ground, and there's a couple of problems. There was an ear problem. It's not perfect. What do you see in this dog's gait that might be wrong? Anybody want to venture a guess? It's a little difficult to see. He says that the dog's hock is on the ground, but this dog is a well-angulated dog, and when you got a long reach, he's going to put more of his leg down on the ground. There's a lot of grass here too, so maybe it looks a little more exaggerated, but what does that give you a clue to? That the dog is very rear angulated, a lot of rear angulation, right? What else do you see? This one? This one? No, it's actually under the body. Yeah. This is the leg I want you to concentrate on. She says it's that's pretty close. It's yeah, okay. But well, this dog is cowhocked, and a lot of people can't see cowhocked unless they see the dog from the rear. But after you train your eye for a while, you can see that this dog's hock is twisted in closer to the center line of the body. You see more of the front surface of the dog's pad than you would normally if the dog's hock was not twisted in. So as you twist the hock in, you show the front of the pad a little bit more. So even dogs from the side, you can tell a cowhock dog if you train your eye to look at that. Going away, it would be very obvious. If you stand behind the dog, you'd see that this hock and this hock were much too close to a center line, and that the pads were a little bit further out. And you can see that from how much of the front surface rather than the side surface of that metatarsus is visible in the pad. When you're handling a dog, running a dog, doing road work, you can tell some movement faults that would be a little bit more difficult than just in the ring. For one is flipping of the pasterns or twisting of the pasterns. Sometimes it's not as severe and you can't see it easily in the ring, but when you're running a dog for a mile or two or three, you'll be able to see every footstep it takes and what it does. So practice with your dogs. Watch their foot placements. Watch what they do with the front. It's normal and natural and actually necessary to turn the foot. And that's why your heels wear out on the outside rather than on the inside, because when you're putting your feet down or if you're walking on all fours, you're landing on the outside of your pads and then rotating your weight onto the pads. So it cushions the blow. Otherwise, you'd be hitting the ground so hard, you'd be jostling everything in the whole skeletal structure. So what the animal does is it lands a little bit and rolls onto its pad. And the same thing in the front as in the rear. However, when you're doing that, you don't want it so extreme that it twists it way out before putting it down. You want just a very small amount of twist so that it cushions the blow of landing on the front. If it's too much, then the dog is wasting that microsecond of time to make up for the rear angulation being more. And we saw that one going the wrong direction. So when you're choosing dogs for breeding or showing, exhibiting dogs, if you're going to buy a dog, you want to make your choice based on such things as OFA or pen hip evaluation of the hips. You want the dog to have normal elbows. You want the dog to have no cauda equina, any other orthopedic problems. You want the dog to have good resistance or good family history of freedom from genetic disease as much as possible. You want the dog to move properly and look like its breed and be appealing in the stance. You don't want a dog that's going to be an exaggeration. You want a dog that's going to have pleasing structure and movement, a dog that's going to move the way he was developed to. And of course, you want a dog that's going to have the temperament that will be suitable for you and the society around you and the use to which you put that dog, whether it's hunting or taking him for a walk in the park or a lap dog or whatever. And there are other factors that you're going to build in to your decision. So I hope that this has helped you to learn how to analyze dogs from front to rear, a logical procedure, also to use science and use knowledge rather than hearsay. Use your own fingers and your own eyes to determine what is happening in your dog, what's really there. Thank you very much for your attention.
Shut that knob again, and okay, and angle it away from you now. Oh.
Here. Chris. Stand. Are we ready?
We're ready, judges. You want to set the dog up, have the dog closer?
Mm-hmm.
Set it up
Ask
first.
Audrey for a squeaker.
We're ready, Judge. Let your mother get the ears up.
Chris.
Very nice, natural pose. Now, walk him so his front end is a little bit closer to us so that you get a little more of his front part of his body in the picture.
Yeah, 35-degree angle.
Yeah, a little bit more. One more step.
Good.
All right.
Now you gotta
Now
reverse
just
his back.
set the back a little bit, not the
Bring
front.
your hand down his side, and then bring the back leg
The
straight
outside
out.
leg,
Yep.
yeah.
Straighten that
All
right
right,
out.
that's good.
Perfect.
Now, stand up, keep the collar tight. All right.
Fix his front a little bit, honey. It's a little bit off. Fred, on her side. You're up. Oh.
All right, walking into it again, but facing this way.
Yeah, three-quarter
One more
pose.
step so
Yeah.
that his other leg's back. One more step. Get his front
Now the front
forward.
leg.
Front, just a little bit your side. That's good. Whoop.
There it goes. Okay. All right, that's a good natural pose. You want to pose so that the toe is underneath the knee on the inside leg, approximately. Okay, shall we move him? Okay, we're going to move you from the camera to that corner and back, so it's nice and straight away, and we'll be here so we can see the dog also. Yeah, bring it up to the
Bring it up
camera
here,
and then trot down to the corner. Fran, you want to get in closer here so you can see that? Okay. Trot, trot. Okay, nice and clean going away. Good single tracking in the
Keep
rear.
that hand still. Don't swing the hand. Keep the hands direct.
Okay, the dog's looking at her a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, a little
Try it without
side.
making eye contact because the dog's looking up at you too much. And that throws the front
Yeah,
off.
he's looking for approval.
Yeah. Just don't look at him when you come back. Where's the squeaky?
Much better.
Yeah, a little bit better control.
Yeah.
All right, the dog's got normal elbows. It's just when he turns his head to look at you, he throws his left elbow out, and that's because he's moving his head. All right, shall we take him around? When you go around the circle, instead of cutting behind the camera, come right across in front of the camera. All right, so if you start right behind these gentlemen here. Pardon me?
Not any closer than that.
You want him closer?
No.
Oh, not any closer than where you are. Yeah, when you're cutting
When
in
you're
front of the
coming
camera.
back across.
All right, so start over by the other camera, Lisa, and Give a nice trot around the ring. Okay, now we can see the dog trotting normally. He still wants to look at her a little bit.
I think if she brings her hand forward, Fred,
Yeah.
I think he'll move better.
Yeah.
You want to try bringing your hand forward while you're moving him straight out and forward. You can leave it at that height, but just bring it
Hand
out.
on the leash.
Yeah.
And he'll move out for you.
And again,
But don't talk and don't look at him.
don't look at him, because he's looking at you. Just make some noise and say up, up or something. You know, click your. Start off at a nice brisk trot so he doesn't start pacing. The dog's got good proportions.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a firm back when she's giving him a chance to run on his own. It's high enough in the
That's
withers.
good. If you bring your loosen the lead and bring it right to the front of his nose, underneath his chin.
Yeah.
So when you're going to move him, you have it just like this and forward.
That way he won't,
Follow that.
won't turn his head so much.
Right? I know, we're going to make you.
All right, set him up.
Still gonna compete against that dog, you know.
We'll get what we want on the record here. The dog obviously has good bone, good feet and pasterns. Ligaments are good. The front end could be a little smoother in the action, right?
Yeah, but
A little bit.
it's not
But
bad.
if the dog had more attitude and drive, then he would show more power in his thrust. But overall, he's got a good solid back, good firm ligaments overall.
No, the dog looks like he's standing there. He looks like
Yeah.
he moves. He looks like he has
He
power.
needs to be more motivated.
Yeah.
But that's it. He's
Yeah.
not showing. He
That's
is.
right.
He is looking for approval from
He's,
her.
he's being shown rather
Right.
than showing.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, can you
Absolutely.
take him around one more time, Lisa? You're going to give up smoking, right?
If I go under you guys? Yes.
It's a movement dog,
Yeah,
hon.
we're going to get a good picture of him this way. So if we don't have enough here, yeah, okay, just one more time then, so that everybody can see. And
So just loosen it all the way.
take
kind of
Fran's
in front
take
of
Fran's advice and have it in front of him.
You got it like this. So and eventually you can step back and he's going to fly in front of you.
Start
but
him
right
off
now you want to start him off so he knows what you mean is bring this lead and bring him
Forward.
straight out slowly and just drive him forward.
Try
He'll
it
get
that
the
way.
hint and he'll move right out. And then
Don't-
you could slow down a little bit and he'll drive right out in
And
front
praise
of you.
him. Tell him he's a good boy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Tell him,
he needs
move
to be
it.
motivated.
Tell him he's awesome.
Come on, hop, hop. She's going to start. You'll pick it up as she goes around the corner. Don't worry about turning, Lisa. Just start. Steady, steady.
Steady.
Yeah, that's right.
Good,
Yeah,
good,
that's good, that's
good, beautiful.
Very good.
Beautiful. You got it. You
Very
got it.
good.
Okay. Did you get a good
Gorgeous.
shot?
The dog
That
is
was
you.
good.
Good.
That's great.
Okay.
Good boy.
That's
Always
much
work.
better. That last time was
Always work.
perfect. Last time was great.
Yeah, that last time around.
That made the difference. Then the dog did what he was
The
supposed
dog
to do.
becomes you. You in the lead and the dog are one. You become a unity. And that drives him out. Eventually, he'll drive right out. You step back and that dog will float right across that ring. And he'll just take those corners like it's nothing.
You have to give up smoking first. Okay, don't hand stack him. Let him walk around and you just hold the leash way up.
Right.
Don't pull on the leash. Just let him walk around by himself. All right. Yeah. Wait, drop the leash and see if he'll follow you.
Just drop the lead.
Drop the leash and start walking away. That's it. Yeah, just walk around and come back where you were. A little slower. So he walks.
Good
He's
baby.
got the leash on him. There he goes. Hey, there he goes. All right, you can see he's moving. You can see the front and the rear.
Yeah.
Did you get enough to see him coming, going? All right. At this age, they're going to change a little bit. All right.
He's tracking.
Hey, instead of writing down the babies, tell me what you saw here on this puppy.
When I first saw him moving, I thought I saw that he was being cowhocked, but I'm not sure.
No.
Probably should not. And the second time when he moved out, he moved out fine.
Yeah, he's moving
No.
true.
He's
Moving
moving
true.
true. His front's moving true.
Front's tight
Yes,
enough at
yes,
this age.
He's got good movement coming and going.
Proportions.
He's, I think he's a nice visual. He's a nice confirmation.
Okay.
I mean, right now he's
Top
a nice
line.
Balance,
Top
yeah.
line was straight.
How about the head?
He's got a
Good
nice
stop.
Yep.
Easy. I'm gonna go over.
Okay. Good. Good.
Nice
And,
broad head.
and at this age, you're not going to see anything unless there's an undershot. So if you just want to check for undershots, this would be the time to do it. Let's carry him over here and show the teeth. Show the front bite. The rest of it's not going to be developed yet.
No, no.
So just lift his lips. Yeah. See?
Good bite, good bite.
Yeah. It's going to be either level or scissors bite at this age.
It's right.
But if it's undershot, then you got a big problem. So that's all you have to look at this age.
Yeah.
Okay? Number one? Okay, this puppy, folks, puppies are going to change. But right now, the dog has very good proportions. He moves true coming and going. He has a good top line, correct mouth, head, stop. Everything here now looks very promising at this age. Okay. The next one. Next one.
I don't know whether she got a ribbon or not.
Yeah, Lisa can give her one. 4 to 6 months?
Yeah.
We got 2 of them? Yeah, right. Just stand your dogs on the grass there, let them stand naturally, and let the camera get a good look at them too. Just stop and so that they don't keep walking around. Get him on the camera side of you. He can look the other way if he wants to look at the other puppy. Okay. Make some mental notes here when they're standing. Remember, try to go from the front to the back in your mind and from the top down. Look at the head and see what kind of head differences you see. Not too much difference. No.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, body is pretty much the same.
Same thing. Does he have more of a developed chest than that?
Mm-hmm. It might be. I think the stop looks a little more pronounced on the one on the left. Yeah.
Pasterns are better
Good.
on the first place dog. than the second.
Lots of bone. Okay.
Matter of fact.
See, both of them have about the same kind of croup, little bit short. I think depending upon how the dog stands, they both stand like they're having like they have normal top lines, but I think maybe this one's going to turn out to have a little bit better top line. Right, but you can't tell at
Yeah.
this age for sure.
The other one has a
And
tendency
sometimes
to-
they lower the head, and the
Yeah.
first one lowering the withers a little bit as a result too. All right, let's try to move them around in a circle, and then we'll do coming and going.
The pasterns on this second dog
Yeah,
are
they're
a
not
little
as
bit weaker
They're
than
not
the
as strong.
first.
Yeah, that's right. Did you girls see that, Lynn?
Yes.
Pasterns a little bit different now. As they're moving, you'll see steady. You'll see that the first one is a little bit lower in the withers than the second one, and that's what I was pointing out, that I thought the second one was going to turn out with a little better top line and withers. Because right now you can see this one's falling a little down on its forehand as a result, and the back looks a little higher than the withers. And you can see when they stand, that's the way they're going to move usually. All right, let's bring the first one out here. Can you just show us the teeth, please? The bite first and then the sides. And the sides. Pull the lips back, all right, and the other side. Those teeth are developing, okay. Right now, if there's something not quite there, it may be because the dog just lost a tooth, so. All right, take him down to that corner and back. Straight lines, everybody gets a chance to see him moving. A little faster. He's pacing. See what happens when they pace? They rock side to side. A little faster on the way back. Yeah, that's all right. You start him off at a gallop, do it again. Start him at a little gallop and slow him down into a trot right away.
Okay.
You got a scratch.
Come on, you'll get used to that collar some other time.
Come on, Charlie.
Hey, hop, hop, up, come on. A quick stop, a quick start. Yeah, that's right. Slow him down now. Okay, very slight cowhog, very slight. So it's hardly worth faulting, yeah. And he looks like he's going to be tight enough in the elbows. All you can see is one step at a time. You know, he's a little, well, you see a little bit closeness in the elbows, a little bit pinched, a little bit turned out. Can you see the way he's standing?
Yeah, but that's.
Right, he still has to develop, so he needs a little bit more force.
Well, muscle development is going to take care of some of that.
Okay, if you relax, we'll get the other one.
No problem.
You bring the other one here. Okay, you're going to show us the mouth, please. Make sure everybody can see the bite in the front. Put your foot behind his rear end so he doesn't move back. Close him out so we can see. And the lip was in the way. Bring him up here. Don't let him back up. You put your foot behind him. Yeah. Pull the front of the lip down like this. Now you see a little bit more clearance?
Yeah.
Okay, not quite as perfect as his bite this time. Let's look at the sides. Show the sides to the people. Yeah, push the tongue out of the way like Don did. That's right. Okay?
Good boy. Good baby. Good baby boy. Good baby boy.
And the other,
I'm tired of this game.
and the other side is about the same. He's
It's
got
gonna
some
be-
new
yeah,
teeth
yeah,
and some
yeah.
missing,
Some spaces.
losing. All right, let's take him down to the corner and back in a trot, please. Good single tracking. A little bit cleaner than the other one, just a little nicer. Still a little loose in the front, but that's in the shoulders and ligaments. You know, the elbows look okay right now.
But
You want to let him stand naturally, just let him stand, yeah,
there you
like
go.
that.
There you go.
He's a little bit cleaner in the front, a little bit straighter in the front. Okay.
When he starts moving, though, you'll notice he does tend to get a little bit wheel back
Yeah.
when he's moving away
Yeah,
from
I
it.
think the other one has a little bit more tendency to drop in the withers than this one does. But how about if we move this one in front this time? All right. Can you get up in front of the other one? We'll have you both go around together again. Talk to them. Get them encouraged. The one behind always looks more lively.
He's got something to chase.
There you go.
Okay, just set them up here. We've got two very, very promising puppies here. Very good bone. Are they in the same litter?
No.
They're the same age, but they're very good quality. Slight differences between the two, and there's going to be some changes. The dog in first place, the incisor bite is not completely perfect, but it's getting there, and it's going to improve, I'm sure. He could have a little bit better pigment on the lips. He stands straight in the front. He moves correct going away. And when he's not too excited about the other dog, he carries his tail properly. He has a good top line in motion and a very nice puppy overall. The second dog, a dog of equal quality, some different characteristics. Again, very good bone. I'd like to see a little bit tighter in the in the ligaments coming in, moving, and he's not quite as true going away in the hocks, but that is, again, a developmental thing. Very good pigment, very good bite, eye color, runs a little bit low in the withers at times, but that partly is going to be training. Once he gets his attitude and drive, he's going to carry the front part of his body higher. So it's a lot of training is going to be the difference. All right, thank you, ladies.
She was ready this time.
Okay.
They won't tell you because we moved the tooth in the ring.
Here, Don, why don't you hand out the ribbons for us? Okay, come on and get your ribbons from Don.
Young lady number 1. Thank you. And
The difference here, we all agree, the judges agree, that the baby puppy has a little more natural stance and proportions and top line right now. It's all just a little bit more put together. However, both are very, very promising. The baby also has a little bit better pigment in the lips and eyes and so forth. So we're going to give it to the baby puppy here, and we thank you very much. The Swiss puppy.
Got good side movement on her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
With that thing coming and going.
Yep,
clean.
No,
yeah,
they
you
all
can
say
see.
it's nice and even the funny things that they do.
Right.
She has good length of leg.
Oh,
Oh, got it.
what a
First
top
thi-
line.
First things first. First things first. Yes.
Okay.
Nice bone,
Oh, well, this is very nice.
good springer rib.
All right, the nice thing about this puppy that we all agree on is that it gives a very good first impression of a dog with good bone, good proportions, nice top line. Another nice thing about this dog is a good width of body, and so even though a lot of it is hair, you can still see a lot of breadth in the shoulder area and the hips. So it's a good sign that this dog is going to develop into something. The apprentice judges also noticed that the dog has an excellent stop, and it's going to continue to be a very good head on this baby. So we have a very good one here. Don's got some ribbons for you. Congratulations.
Tremendous
It
attitude.
matches her collar.
Fine, thank you.
you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, your leash.
Stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've asked her to handle that one for you.
They've got to compete against each other.
Yeah.
They're a week apart. That's why the difference in size. Try getting a little further apart so we can see them standing. Pick them up and put them over there and let them take a couple of steps toward her.
Try to run the ring.
Yeah, well, lots of luck.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
They're going to catch each other.
Oh, it might work.
All right, now take a couple steps forward. Let the dog set himself up and stop. Stop. All right, he's going to sit down. If you can do the same thing, let the dog take a couple steps and then stop. Just hold the leash up so he's not walking too far. Yeah, they're about the same. Okay. How about
Best breed.
running around the ring together? I mean, walking around the ring and letting the dog follow you. Don't pull on the leash. Just call your dog.
Take them off
Leash is off and just
Yeah.
follow
and
them.
call them.
Let them run. Just take
Call-
we can
Yeah,
Call 'em.
call the puppies. All right. Yeah, the other one will follow. Well, we can see.
almost worked.
It almost worked.
Okay. Of these two, Tina and Don.
The bitch puppy, it would
Okay.
be my choice.
Okay. The puppies are going to change, as we say, but today we're going to give it to the dark one, the bitch puppy. Congratulations. Gabby, it's the female.
The female is the best puppy,
Oh, thank you very much.
and the little boy gets best. The other way around, I'm sorry. The purple one is the winner.
If it's a loose lead, it's going to be more likely to stand naturally.
Yeah,
So try to encourage her with your voice and
yeah,
back up a
yeah,
little
let her
bit.
have let her have the
Yeah.
leash.
That's right.
Yeah, let her stop on
Make
her
some
own.
noises and talk to her. Try to let them stand naturally.
yeah.
Walk them into a stance.
Just take a step forward, each one of you on a leash,
Yeah.
and let them place themselves.
And then stop and let the dog look around and stand himself. That's right. Just that's about as natural as you're going to find. That's right. Okay, let's let him see where the ring is. Take him around once, and then we'll do individuals. You notice done. Done.
Yes, sir.
You notice the second dog being a little bit long in the mid-piece.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
No question there.
Yeah. It is rather straight and vertical in the front, a little short in the croup, and
Yeah.
that makes the middle part look excessively long. Okay, show the bite to the judges. Don, make sure you can see. Close the front first.
Good baby,
Put your
Bijou.
foot
Good
behind her
baby,
butt.
Bijou. Be good, baby,
Keep her from
Bijou.
moving
No,
back.
no feet, no feet. Here, steady, steady.
Sometimes the exhibitors aren't used to showing the
Good.
mouth, so you have to get some help.
Here,
Yeah,
just hold still.
okay.
There you go.
Same age as
Good
the
girl,
other. They're
yeah.
losing teeth, and okay, take her down and back toward
The
corner.
front was a good scissors bite. That's
Trot. Nice straight line. Little foot. Okay, there. That's straightened out now. A little bit parallel.
A little bit
Parallel.
tending toward, yeah, but a little bit tending toward cowhawks also. They're coming in just a bit.
Come on, puppy. She's looking over her
was
shoulder
spooked,
too
yeah.
much. Try it again. Now the withers are up.
Oh yeah, sorry. What was that big dog back there?
Talk to her. Get her
Yeah,
to look
keep
this
talking
way.
To your dog. I've noticed people are not talking to their dogs, and they should be talking.
Overdo it. You know.
Big deal. Make a big deal out of it. Happy, happy.
Come on, trot her back here. Show the judges the mouth, please. Lift the front, and pull the front lip down. That's right. She can sit. And try to keep your head out of the way. So
Yeah, that would help.
pull the lower lip down so that you can see the bottom teeth too. Sit.
Oh, no, she's going to
You're
shy.
gonna have to wait.
Yeah, I
until-
was going to try and get behind her.
No. Be a little forceful. Lift her lip up. Lift her head up. So yeah, that's right.
There
Point
you
up.
go, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You see.
Talk to her.
Yeah, you see this incisors
Yes,
on the right side, the upper incisor.
almost. Couldn't quite see it.
Take another look. Watch the front end. It's not so much the elbows, but the width of the placement of the feet. All right, nice straight trot. Loose and wide. As far as skin pigment is concerned, the second dog is a little light on the tan parts. The proportions are overall fairly good. The second dog is a little bit too long in the mid-piece. The first dog has very good ear set and attitude. Second dog needs to be socialized a little bit more. First one has a little bit better bone, shorter hocks. The second one is a bit too wide in the front coming in and loose in the elbows, a little bit loose in the elbows. As it goes around, it shows a little lack of smoothness as a result. So on the basis of an overall look at the dogs, we're going to give the gentleman number 1 and you number 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, sir.
Sure. If you don't watch out for the
Enjoy.
top lines, you know, okay. All right, now let him catch up. Easy.
Sit good. Sit good.
All right, that's good. This is out of one of Tina's. I mean, somebody.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy her.
Yeah.
She looked great. She
Thank
looked
you.
absolutely great.
Thank you very much. I want to tell everybody it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Tina, thank you very much.
They're going to charge you customs for that. Don't bother with the
No,
legs.
no,
just
that's
hold
good.
the head up and let the dog stand naturally. He's going to stand in a natural, smooth pose. Yeah. Okay, we'll bring the first one up here so we can see the mouth, please. Is the dog used to it?
Not really.
Does he know where to sit?
Yes, he does.
Make him sit
Now
and
it's-
put your
sit.
foot behind his butt so he doesn't back
Now
up.
sit.
Nice. Stand behind his butt there and show the teeth to the judges.
Stay.
Show the mouth.
Stay.
Close it. Yeah, sides. Push the tongue out of the way like that. Yeah. And the other side.
We do have teeth in there.
And the other side too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
that's
Okay.
clean.
You want to come around and look? Look on the right hand side there. And in this case, you can open it and you can see them all.
I didn't notice it. She had her thumb.
Okay?
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
more
when the
female.
tongue gets flipped out of the way, you should be able to see. Don't count teeth, just count holes. Yeah, there's a little bit extra space in between a couple of teeth,
Yeah,
but
there's
it's
a
not a
little
big deal. Okay, now this is what age?
9 to 12 months.
Okay, let's check the testicles on these dogs since they're older
Yeah.
dogs. They should definitely be dropped by now. Okay. Remember, when you're checking testicles, not only are there two of them there, but they should be the same size.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, down to the corner and back.
And you ascertained all was correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, all three of them. Control. Okay, good. That's good. A little lack of control, but the dog's moving with good ligaments. Show us all the teeth. Show the front bite. Lift the head up so they can all see you.
Close-
Close the mouth in
Close
front.
it.
Close it in front. And lift the lips out of the way.
Good boy.
Front and bottom. Yeah, all right. Now you show the sides to everybody.
Steady, son. Steady, son.
Put your hand on his nose, Ever.
Go like that so that you can see.
See,
Now,
yeah.
if you look
There's
where
a-
his finger
yeah,
is here,
there's a
ladies.
hole.
Yep, there's a big hole.
See that?
Yeah.
Right away. Now the other side.
Good boy, son. Good boy.
There.
Yeah, he's missing
Another
a
one?
premolar on each side.
He's missing the third
Third
premolar
premolar.
on each side. How big a problem is it in the breed? Yeah.
It's in the lines. We just have
Yeah.
to note it and be
Yeah.
careful with it.
We will balance it. All right, down and back, please.
This way. More important lines.
No. It's, okay. It's good enough. It's a little bit close in the hocks. You notice the hocks are a little close. Not horrible. It's still good. And it's tight enough in the front.
Yeah. It's,
Okay. All right, loose lead. A little slower now. Very well pigmented dog here, the bicolor. He's got a very good expression, good ear set. We've got a very nice, imposing, substantial gray dog. Very good bone. We've got two problems, and they are different types of problems, and we have to weigh those carefully. First dog has a couple of missing premolars. That's something you have to work on in your breeding programs. Make sure you have full dentition. He's got the P3 on the bottom, is missing on both sides. The second dog has an excessively curled tail, and in the Shiloh Shepherd standard, that's really jumped on quite a bit. And since there is a lot of that in the breed, the people who are running the club want this to be emphasized strongly so that it can be weeded out over a period of time. The first dog is not as smooth in his front action as the gray dog. The gray dog is very smooth. It lands on his front very nicely. He's got an excellent side gait. Pasterns are not quite as strong as the bicolored dog, but the ligaments are quite tight overall. Because of the difference in faults, we can't really compare too much with each other, but since they want more emphasis on more normal tails and carriage, not above the horizontal level of the back, we have to give this one number 1 and this number 2. Thank you. Good explanation?
yes.
Okay.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Nice.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
when you see, I mentioned the
Thank you, ma'am.
pasterns. When you see pasterns that are a little weak, you usually see toes that are a little long too. Yeah, that's all a matter of ligaments. The croup is adequately long.
I think you find that there's been some shedding in that croup area,
Yeah,
which gives you an idea of its steepness.
and the way the tail comes out
Yes.
of the sacrum too makes
Right.
a difference too. All right, and the second dog, walk him into it, and even if he faces the wrong way, yeah. You remember that the head is like the steering wheel on a car. Wherever the head goes, the rest of the dog is going to go. So just control the head. Don't worry about it. Okay, good. Good. All right, let's take them around in a trot together, please. Talk to them. There again, you've got a tail problem.
Yeah, we got
Gay
a second
tail.
dog. Yeah,
They both move okay.
we're extending
All right,
fine.
set it up. Just stop up there. First dog is a little bit low on the leg.
Yeah.
This one has better height to length ratio. And show the side teeth to everybody. Any other? Pull his head around. Usually it's the little ones where
Yeah,
they try to hide it
right.
with their fingers, you know. Did everybody see the teeth, Tina?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. All right, down back, please. Down to the corner and back in the trot.
Trot,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit close in the hocks, but a little parallel, but still it's good. Elbows are good. Show us the teeth, please. Close the
Close it,
front
yeah.
first, okay. And where your thumb is, we want to see the teeth instead of your
Sorry,
thumb.
stay safe.
If you stay over here, put your foot behind the dog, so he doesn't. Yeah,
Get him to sit and then put your leg right behind him.
yeah. Otherwise, we're going to have to follow you all around the range.
Adam, sit.
That's all right.
Somebody wants to do that.
Good
Yeah.
boy, good
Look
boy.
at the sides. Now you see one here.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the
Hold
first
still,
one,
son. Hold still, son.
and that one's
N-
okay.
That one's
can see.
very small. It's just broken through. Yeah.
Okay, but you can see that there's a missing
There's
one.
one
on the bottom
missing
here.
on one side.
And look at the top. Here. If he's just standing there naturally, hold still. Sometimes all you have to do is go like that. You see, somebody missed the top one before. Okay, so he's got two, top and bottom.
On
All
the
right,
same
down
side.
to the corner and back, please. Okay, you might have missed that if I didn't tell you to look again. But sometimes you can spot those immediately. All right, once around, please. Very nice bone, good feet and ligaments. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, he's got his
Good.
tail down this time. The first time around he was flagging.
Okay, come on back
And he
over
had
here
way
in the
up over his
sunshine
back.
and set
Huh?
up the dogs here again. Leave them in the position they are.
Yeah, I would.
Is that okay?
I would.
Oh, okay.
He
All right,
was a little bit short
the
this
panel
way
of
on that
3
front one.
judges agrees to leave these dogs in
Yeah,
the same
oh yeah.
position they are. There's slight differences. The first dog is a little low on the leg, could have a little bit more leg length for his size. Second dog is very good height to
Thank
length proportions and very good bone, very good strong ligaments. The first dog also has very nice width, very great masculinity to his head, excellent pigment. The gray dog has a couple of missing teeth on one side, one top, one bottom, and the tail carriage is not entirely correct. Sometimes he carries it much too high and curled. We're going to leave it in this position, 1 and 2.
Mention scissoring if you get
Thank
an
you.
opportunity.
Done?
That dog has been stiff.
Want to
Okay.
give the ribbons? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, get your ribbons.